Hello everyone, I'm John and this is Dan with Fort Meigs Historic Site. If you're familiar with our channel or if you've been to the site itself, you know that history will be our subject today, and specifically the War of 1812 and the campaigns of the Northwest Army. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about headgear that you would have found on the soldiers in camp and on the battlefield. So,
yeah, with me, we'll start off with the round hat. This is the typical fashion for gentlemen in the early 1800s. The tricorn of the 1700s that you think of with the American Revolution had fallen out of fashion with the younger generations. Maybe the older generations might still be wearing their tricorns, some of the old men that you see walking around in the early 1800s, but all of the young men are wearing hats similar to this. It's the top hat, like you think of Abraham Lincoln wearing. It was all the rage. And this one is not quite a full top hat. The crown would come up to about here. But this is a round hat, fairly common throughout the United States and most of Western civilization in the early 1800s. And the military used that as the example for their military headgear. Right here we have two examples of shakos, as they came to be known. At the time, they were called caps because they simply cut the brim off the sides and off the back of the hat to form a cap. And it's very decorative. Lots of pomp and circumstance in the Army at the time. They wanted to be easily identified as well. We have a cap cord here. This particular one is a silver cap cord. It's for a lieutenant. The cap plate right here shows that it's in the United States infantry, and that silver color, that white color, signified members of the infantry. It says right up top here, U.S. infantry, has the bald eagle emblazoned on the front of the cap, two American flags, and then down at the very bottom it actually identifies the specific unit, the 7th Regiment. And there were actually about 20 or so members of the 7th Regiment that served here at Fort Meigs. That is one of the regiments that the reenactors here at Fort Meigs portray.
And I have an example of an artillery shako here. As you can see, there are some differences. The cording is yellow, and yellow will be the color for the artillery. And the cap plate itself is a rectangle instead of the octagonal shape, and this is brass. And the unit that is identified here is the 2nd United States Artillery. And of course, we know that the 2nd United States Artillery, at least a company of them, were here to man the guns at the fort. We also have cockades, an ancient symbol of military service, on the side. And of course, the high plumes, goose feathers. This is going to extend the height of the cap. Very decorative, very fancy. And the colors here are also going to help identify which branch of service this soldier is serving in. It does have some practical uses. Dan talked a little bit about the bill. The bill is going to help deflect some of the spark and the ember that comes off of the musket if fired, and it's going to send that blast up into the cap plate there to protect the soldier's eyes from the musket itself. It is also a very tall cap, as we have mentioned, and this is going to play into the psychology of the era. Because a soldier wearing this on the battlefield is going to appear much taller, and with the added height of the plume, very much taller. And because of the weapons at the time, you're going to be able to see your opponent long before they can be fired on. So armies will have a literal sizing up period. And human nature dictates that you do not attack that which is larger than you. So observing a soldier wearing this cap from across the battlefield, they're going to appear very, very large. And it's going to psych you out, make you less aggressive perhaps on the battlefield to charge into such large-looking men.
Another type of hat in fashion in the early 19th century was the bicorn. This hat, unlike the 3 points of the tricorn, has, as you might imagine, 2 points. It was a common headdress for military officers. Popularized by the French and the Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, these hats are commonly referred to by their French term, chapeau bras, which literally translates to an underarm hat. As the headgear of officers and gentlemen, they were designed to be folded flat and carried under the arm when not being worn.
The final headgear that we have for us today is this, the forage cap. This is the workman's cap. This would be worn by the soldiers as they're doing fatigue details, things like digging ditches, cutting down trees, things of that nature. It's a soft cap, much like the soft cap of the American military throughout the ages. It's actually quite a large cap. This folds in. We jokingly refer to it as the elf cap, but it tucks into the bill here, into the side. It too is identified, has a white tape across the side here, so that shows that this belongs to an infantryman, that white color signifying it. But this would be worn as they're doing the work. The shako would be kept strictly for the battle dress uniform and the formal wear of every day. So that's the final headgear that we have for you today. I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in and watching this episode. As always, if you have any comments, please feel free to drop those down in the comments section down below. And stay tuned for our next episode coming up next week.